It is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. The sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current, which are directly proportional to the variations in the light beam. The sound track. As the varying electrical current in the photoelectric cell is small, a vacuum tube amplifier is required to increase it to the point where it will operate a loudspeaker. Sound track.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode is part 2 of True Crime in the Sky, the Fixed Stars, Astrology, and more. And I cannot be happy enough to have back BD Salerno again. Always have great chats with this woman, and I do see her being on the show more often, and I'm having fun doing that already. I am lucky enough to have the same crew that we had last week, whenever we did this. I do have the spiritual gangster herself, Teresa. What is up? How's it going?
This is good. How are you?
All right. I see everybody except for me has got the tinfoil hat on today.
I know. You didn't get the memo or something.
Yeah, I forgot to grab it when I got up to get my drink.
That's okay.
We'll
forgive you this time.
Thank you. Yes, she is on the Spiritual Gangsters, and we do Clown World every Tuesday, just for people who may not know. That's every Tuesday around 10:30 in the morning. It is an awesome, fun show. We cover the silliness of the news, kind of, of that week.
Yeah, kind of.
Thank you again for jumping on. I'm sure everybody knows who you are already from listening to either the NY Patriot show or the Occult Rejects, but just in case. And we do got Lisa, the mad scientist herself. What's going on?
That threw me off. That's the best.
Yes. Always love to have you on. Like I said, you're already an Occult Reject. So thank you very much for jumping on again. I always look forward to your input, especially the medical and the science side. It's very interesting.
Absolutely.
And now we'll get to the guest. BD, what is going on? Thank you very much for coming on again.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Awesome.
It's good to be here.
Yes.
Last time we talked about fixed stars and their meaning in relation to astrology charts and events. And today's going to be a continuation of that, but with the added twist of something that a lot of people don't know, that you can do very basic rituals to call down the influence of the fixed stars to bring that influence into your life by way of making an amulet, a talisman. You can draw it on a piece of paper, make a painting, and basically it is a simple little magic that you invoke the spirit, the qualities of the fixed stars. And I've been looking into that lately and found a massive amount of information from where it begins at the most basic level to an incredibly complex system of rituals.
Yeah, I'm glad sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm glad you're bringing this up. And, I'm sure for the most part, a lot of people already know this, but for people who aren't that educated with magic and occultism, which may be why you're listening to this show, basically, from my experience, like BD is saying, whenever I've made an amulet or a talisman or a sigil, either I was projecting my own will or desire into it, or I was pulling something down, normally some sort of planetary energy. I may match it with a sphere on the tree of Kabbalah, or I may match a specific god that is associated with it, but the way I'm contacting it is technically planetary. When I start using the hexagram ritual, and I'm, in a sense, like you're saying, I'm contacting something else and trying to harness that energy and imbue that into whatever I have on my altar. So I want people to know that, even from my experience and anybody else I knew that practiced the ceremonial magic, that's what's being done when we made a sigil or a talisman,
right,
or an amulet.
Right. Well, today I'm actually going to tell people how they can make their own sigils without any sort of ritual whatsoever. It's easy. I've done it. The ones that I made have worked. I'll explain a little story about that a little bit later. But getting back to the processes of these rituals, when you were doing planetary, had you first done the elemental?
Yeah,
rituals?
well, that's the
because
whole...
there's this progression that you're not supposed to step ahead of. You're supposed to do the elements first: air, fire, water, earth, and then you can move to the planets. And let me tell you, the rituals for planets in the book I have is intimidating. It's a lot.
They'll even consider planetary
steps.
magic, and I'm not saying this because that's what I practice to pat myself on the back.
Mm-hmm.
But some people will consider that almost like advanced magic, or you're getting, because that's
It is. Yeah.
To me, like you were saying, and you're totally right. If I was to, let's say I wanted to make a talisman associated with Jupiter, I'm going to do a banishing ritual to remove all the earthly energies around me: air, water, fire, and earth. Mm-hmm. All of that in this world is going to be banished, a clean slate, and then I'm going to do planetary banishment. I will do the hexagram ritual, and I'll remove all planetary influences off of my working area out of there. Supposedly, now it's a clean slate, and I can choose what I want to start doing and manipulating. So you're right. You do have to start off where you are first before you start going higher up. So you would have to deal with the elementals. In a sense.
Yeah, it's a very rigorous discipline. I was amazed. I had no idea how complex it got.
And then you get into elementals when you get into planets. They're associated with fire, associated with water. So it's like you even on a higher. It's just more and more. It's like a tree branching out when you start getting into planetary stuff.
Yeah, and so where we are today is the most basic, simple, undemanding form of how to affect these little rituals, just to call down certain qualities. And I'm going to explain the qualities of the fixed stars that we talked about last week, because I talked about the main ones last week. The first thing, though, my question, Nick, about the eyes, I don't want to forget that question. Like I said, I didn't watch the series, but it occurred to me this week. I studied Italian literature for many years. I was an Italian major. I went to graduate school in Italian and did a lot of studying of the medieval and Renaissance writers. Those people were learned men. If you were a writer, if you were an educated man, you knew the sciences, you knew nature, you knew magic. If you knew astronomy, you were automatically an astrologer. There was no differentiation between the earth, the natural sciences, they called it. Anyway, there were a number of Italian writers that emphasized the eyes. I don't know why I thought of this, but anyhow, there was two ways that came about, and I thought this is really funny. The first way is what in Italian we call the malocchio, evil eye. When you give somebody the glass eye or the evil eye, that's a darkness you're emanating to that person. It's like you're spell casting, and that back years ago could get you killed. I mean, you had to watch out. But that was part of the culture, the malocchio, the dark eye. Now, what I found really fascinating on the other side of that is there's all these writers wrote about love. It was Italy. It's love, amore. That's what they wrote about. So there were so many poems and sonnets about love at first sight, and love could only occur through the eyes. You had to behold the eyes of the beloved. And then something occurred called il fulmine, which means the lightning bolt. A strike of light hit the eyes, and that was what brought love.
It's the optic
light
nerve.
Brought love into the person. The heart came later in the mind, and then by the time you get to know them, you're done with them anyway. But in the beginning, it's just the love at first. They were so heavy on this idealistic love and love at first sight, love of the beautiful maiden. And I thought of that, like, fulmine. Yeah, light goes through the eyes. I have to talk to Nick about that. Isn't that a magic form of, that's a magic thing.
It's like...
even if it's not intentional, across a smoky bar room it might be when you're looking at somebody that you like, but it's not intentional, but yet it happens. So there's white light for love and black for hatred in the Italian literature that I was studying all those years. And I never thought of that before. I only thought of it because you had done that series that I haven't even watched yet.
Yeah, you should check it out.
But that's magic. I thought, this is magic. This is what they're talking. And these guys were all magicians. They were philosophers and magicians at the same time. There was no differentiating back then. So I just thought that would be a cool thing to bring up, because I was like, yep, here's magic just in the eye stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, from what you were saying, it's, I mean, like, even with, the way I could put it is that, like, maybe, like, if you're inside your head and, like, you, like, your third eye in your brain is illuminated, and it's like you're going to turn around and then turn on the lights inside of these eyeballs in front of you and look out this way. As wild as it sounds, it's the only way I can explain it, but it's like, you're going to flip the switch on.
Yeah.
The optic nerve.
It's definitely a
You're going to
switch,
flip the switch on.
And then I realized how much it's already in our culture. And this came out of nowhere. This crazy old song. Do you remember the singer Dean Martin? Remember Dean Martin? When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. The moon hits your eye? There it is.
I have it. It's so funny. I have an intro that I made, and I haven't used it. Because I wanted to cover like the moon at some point. I mean, this is even going back.
Well,
like,
this would be a perfect thing to put in. And then there's another one. One of my favorite songs.
I used that sample in it.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my favorite songs, I think from 1978. Todd Rundgren. Then wait a minute. I can't see this. Okay, the song is "I Saw the Light in Your Eyes." Then you gazed up at me, and the answer was plain to see, because I saw the light in your eyes. But my feelings for you were just something I never knew till I saw the light in your eyes. It's in the culture, this magic stuff. Then Ambrosia did another song. There's a new sun rising in your eyes. I can see a new horizon. So we got it. We just don't know it. It's there, and we don't know it.
They told you, if you listen, I've said that plenty of times, and I hate to say it. I think a lot of love songs, if you start listening to it, it goes back to kind of like, I bullshit. I really do think.
Well, I just proved it for you.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I'm like, you're really, I mean, I've even, or the whole idea of magic. I think a lot of love songs is talking about the experience of real love.
And yet we take for granted, we don't really think about magic. We think magic is some clown doing something, or, it's black magic and we should be afraid of it. Anyway, that's what I had to add on the eye magic. So, okay, if you want to move on to the magic of the fixed stars, what we did not cover last week, which was ideal that we didn't cover it because it fits in much better now. We didn't cover the worst fixed star in the universe. If you ask any astrologer what is the most malevolent, horrible fixed star that you never want to see in a chart, it's Algol. The full name is Caput Algol, the head of the Gorgon. It was this monster that had the head of a woman with snakes coming out all over, the Medusa.
Oh, I was just going to say,
and she was really horribly ugly and frightening. And if you stared at her, you would turn to stone.
Horribly ugly.
So the Medusa is in the constellation Perseus, and it was the warrior Perseus who finally slayed the Medusa by decapitating her with his sword. And that is what Caput Algol references. Really horrible, violent crime, specifically, not always, but specifically with the neck or the head, either in strangulation, decapitation, something like that, violence, the neck or head. I have seen it time and again in crime charts where the person was strangled.
Oh, wow.
Or their throat was cut, and you don't want to see it. It's a bad one. But in terms of rituals, it is the most protective fixed star for you to make an amulet or a talisman out of. Because you turn that energy back, you are protected from any of that kind of evil. So Algol talisman is the most popular one people ask to have made. And the good thing about the way you make these is all you need to know is when the precise moment is that star is rising on the horizon. And what you want to do is you just get your sigil from, pick out the sigil you want. Of course, Algol has a specific one there. and you draw it, you engrave it, you paint it, do whatever you want with it, taking into account you're going to need maybe 10 minutes before the horizon where the star hits and 10 minutes after, because once you complete that, making it, you have to give an incantation. And then once you give your incantation, that's it. You would have factored all that into that time. When it's approaching the horizon, then it goes over the horizon, the star that is. You're working on the amulet or the drawing or whatever you want. And in each case, they have specific incantations, which in my view, they're medieval sounding. I think you can make your own if you state your intent clearly. And I'm going to go over what the qualities are in each of these stars.
You know, I think that I want to add too.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up like the timing too, because like that's even something I guess I left out. I wasn't thinking about it earlier. You know, even when the charging of the sigils, like again, I'll go with Jupiter. Let's say I was making a Jupiter sigil, and I was going to charge it. I mean, I might technically get up like on the hour of Jupiter, which would probably be like sunrise on Thursday. I would maybe make the sigil then, and then maybe like later on that day, because Jupiter will hit the same day, the hour, a few times. Either I'll do it later that day or I'll do it at night. I'll actually do the ritual on Thursday on the hour of Jupiter on the sigil that I created on the hour of Jupiter earlier that day. And like you can get that specific, or like you could even like, you know, let's say I wanted to use Jupiter and Mercury together. I mean, I could make the sigil on the hour of Mercury on the day of Thursday. You know, it's like you could start getting really specific on hours and associations and stuff.
Yes,
and you did mention kind of like that.
You also get you could get specific on colors. Oh, yeah. Although this method is so user friendly, you can pretty much always get away with using a white candle. You don't have to get that color candle. Later on, if you get into elemental and planetary, you need to have that color. But in terms of Algol, you just use, I think I used a white and a red candle. And what incense you burn is also non-specific. There's specific ones that are good. I prefer to use like dragon's blood or patchouli, something like that. I have a lot of different ones that I try. But I actually did last spring, I made my own little Algol protective amulet. What I like about it is it protects you, and it also sends it back, makes the sender stop the nonsense, which I like. And I don't feel like I'm under any sort of threat of any kind, but in general, you know, we kind of are under psychic attack with a lot of stuff in our society, a lot of stuff with the government. We don't know what they're doing half the time. So that's mainly why I wanted to prepare it. And I actually got up, I think I had to get up at 3:45 in the morning and do it. And what I did was I did not have, like they say, have an engraver and like a metal disc or a bracelet, a flat piece of metal for jewelry. But you don't have to. I took a plastic disc and I tried to scratch Algol into it, and it wouldn't work. So I did magic marker. I said, well, this is my intent is imprinted in here. I can't scratch it. I'll put my intent into the magic marker. And let me tell you how that little thing has worked for me. I'll just tell you one quick story. The man who wrote the book we're referring to in this talk, Chris Warnock, he is a British astrologer. He writes a lot on magic in astrology, and I believe he's a Japanese Buddhist initiate, a priest, and very knowledgeable. And he will create these and sell them to you. He has a website. I don't know if it's ChristopherWarnock.com or Chris Warnock.
I've heard of
probably
that.
Probably ChristopherWarnock.com. If I had a bag of money, I'd probably get an amulet for every fixed star. But anyway, I made the little one Algol, and he had said in his book, you will find that troublesome people just avoid you. I thought, perfect. That's exactly what I want.
That's handy.
One day I was walking around. I live in a very safe neighborhood. I walk a lot. But one day there was this man coming toward me, and he was like slightly deranged. I saw him down the block. He was cursing and screaming. He was kicking stuff on the ground. And I was like, okay.
Got a live one here.
And I thought, I'm just going to be calm. I'm just going to walk past him. I had Algol pinned on my shirt. I have a little pin on it. And I thought, I'm just going to be calm. And this guy was way out of control. I thought, I can't avoid him now because I might trigger him by, leaving. About 20, 30 feet away from me, he looked up at me like this and stopped and just calmly walked right by me. And I was like, I think that's Algol at work. I didn't do anything. But this guy was really losing his, cookies or whatever. And he just stopped. He just chilled. And I have seen that. When I see people on the street and they look a little sketchy once in a while, they go around me. And that never used to happen. So I attribute it to Algol. Or maybe I'm doing something, I don't know. But it works.
Your energy too, Barb. Like, I'm not discounting that the amulet doesn't work. It totally could be. But even if it didn't, it's like when people say with crystals, right? Like, is it a placebo effect where, like, say you have quartz to like draw love into your life or something? Right. Is it a placebo effect because you are emanating a certain resonance, feeling, frequency, of calm and protection because you were passing this guy, because you felt you had your amulet, but really it was just you, Could be both.
It surely could. I'll tell you though, there's a psychic thing that goes on where you feel more confident, even though if the belief is baseless. Exactly. The belief is where you get the power.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I didn't really instantly think of Algol. I thought of it afterwards. Oh, that's right. I got it right in my shirt here.
Nice.
So it was really cool. And I take care of it. You have to take care of these things once you make them. Don't put them under a pile of mail or, garbage or something. You have to take care of them and respect them. And then I made one. I forgot to bring it from upstairs. I made one for wealth. I found a heart-shaped stone. It was really perfectly. I thought I'm going to make this one for wealth and good fortune, both. That one was Aldebaran. We're going to go on over that one in a minute. And I made one. I'm so bad. My sister puts our lottery tickets underneath it. Hasn't worked yet, but we both have.
Oh, I think we froze.
In the past few months had tremendous good fortune. I mean, this year for me has been phenomenal. In the past years, I was working on that spec book. I couldn't get arrested. Nothing happened to me. This year has been phenomenally blessed. So I still feel, it's coming whenever.
That's awesome. It's so funny.
So I'm having fun with these. And
the name Algol just reminded me of, if you guys are familiar with like the Batman story, his arch nemesis is Ra's al Ghul. So it's like so similar.
That is Algol in Arabic. It's Ra's al Ghul in Arabic. It's Algol. No, I'm not kidding. It means
Batman.
The ghoul.
There you go. It's Batman's enemy.
I meant to
like the Dark Knight or something.
I meant to bring that up. It's Ra's al Ghul because most of these names are from the Arabic. And they translated it as mischief maker. I said, this is not mischief when you get your head cut off. It's a lot worse than that. It's really deadly,
You know what
so
I find interesting with these two sigils right here? They look very much like keys to me as well.
A lot of them do look like keys. I actually like the way that looks. I think that I did the bottom Algol. That's the one I did with my magic marker on the plastic disc. Oh. Some of them are, they just look cool. I mean, I just like the way they look. And I also thought of one thing. Here's another benefit of these for people who may be so desire this. I don't see why you can't have a tattoo of that. All you need is to know what time. You have to go to the tattoo artist and say, look, would you, if it depends on what time of day. It may not be a ridiculous hour, but say, could you do this and how long would it take you to tattoo this on me? And then you could work around what you needed to do, how much time to allot for the initiation of the ritual, which is before the star crosses the ecliptic. The horizon. And then for how much time in completion you have time to conclude with the incantation. So you could have it tattooed. I mean, you could do different colors. There are, like I said, some of them have colors. I don't think Algol has. Oh yeah, red and white. Mugwort or any incense. Mugwort actually smells a lot like pot, so people may enjoy burning that. And so, but you could have this tattooed. I think it would be awesome. You just have to find somebody. First, The only thing you really need for this is because it's so simple and basic. You do need somebody, if you can't find it on the internet, ask an astrologer or somebody to tell you what time that star will cross the horizon. Then you have to be able to have them tell you, well, if I need 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after, what time should you start?
Yeah, it'd be complicated.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I gave myself I was only drawing, so I only gave myself 10 minutes on each side. And the Algol incantation's really short. I think you're supposed to do it 9 times, but like I said, you can make up your own. If you're pure in your intent, just say, please grant me these powers to repel my enemies and all psychic damage turned back upon its sender, and grant me protection in all ways, psychic, emotional, physical, spiritual, etc. And I think that's good enough. I don't think you need to. Some of the ones in the book sound really archaic, and I wasn't comfortable with them. So
then you don't even know what you're saying, actually, yourself.
The next one is the Pleiades star cluster. I have erroneously called that a constellation. It's not. The constellation it is in is Taurus the Bull. It's a star cluster in Taurus the Bull. This one preserves the eyesight. Wait a minute, it's not summons demons.
Eyesight.
Oh, yeah. Some of them concern the eyesight or parts of health, like circulation, stuff like that. Some of them are health oriented. This one summons spirits from the dead and calls the winds, reveals secrets or things that are lost. We'll use that for crime. We'll get some good information out of that. Increases the light of the eyes. Here we go. Assemble spirits, raise winds, reveal secrets. And you want to use a white candle. 7 candles would be good to burn. You want to use frankincense if you have it as an incense. Otherwise, whatever you want. But that's Pleiades. And I know that Pleiades, in the crime chart I did on the Richard Speck case, one of the girls had suffered an eye injury, and Pleiades was right in there. And it affected her eyes. So Pleiades is for that. And
That's interesting.
It's the one I did for the lottery tickets. Aldebaran is a red giant. It's in the constellation Orion. And you would use red candles. It is a warlike quality, which accumulates wealth and good fortune. And because of red, you'd want to burn dragon's blood or copal. And, this is interesting, too, that Aldebaran's one of the 4 watchers of the heavens. I wonder if they're talking about 4 horses of the apocalypse, the 4 watchers of the heavens. I don't know, but that came up in the book, and it's considered a royal star of 4 archangels: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. That's a pretty big star. It's actually a red giant. And so that would be I did for good fortune. I've had a ton of good fortune this year, so I don't discount it at all.
And you said Michael, Raphael, Uriel.
Uriel and Gabriel.
Yeah, that's even the ones that you would use, in magic for the
right.
The elemental archangels and the.
Right. Yep. So then
you were saying something. I hate to interrupt you, but you were saying in other ones it gets into the circulatory system too, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't get to that one yet, but
I do find it interesting. I could be wrong, but I'm really gonna have this is more of a question for Lisa, and I think it's something that we have spoken about. I think it could be wrong, but doesn't your blood get pumped from you said? I think you said soft tissue or something like that.
Oh, I think
that would be controlled by nerve endings, right?
Yes. So basically, during fetal development, the sympathetic nervous system follows arterial blood because it's going to act on arterial smooth muscle tissue, so that during fight or flight, it needs to act upon it correctly to either move blood away and move blood towards, or pull it away from the gut and move it into the muscles, or pull blood away from the muscles into the brain, or anything like that. So during fetal development, that's when you have nerves basically finding their way and following the smooth tissue, laying it down because it's going to act upon that. And so you see that especially with the eyeball in that with fight or flight, because that's obviously you're physically aware of it. When you see it, you see sympathetic nerves following the arterial blood into the eye because it follows it in. So that way it can quickly respond back into the brain and then down into the spinal column.
So like,
is that your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was perfect. And then what I wanted to add to that was like, and from what I'm assuming is that like the electricity that our body is using to actually use the nerves to make these things pump is from the electricity that you're getting in your optic nerve, right?
Yeah, and so basically the any kind of, whenever you have any nerve, you have an action potential and then you have it firing upon the other one to basically send the signal. They use electricity, or action potentials is what they call them, to basically send messages across and then down the nerve ending and so forth. But yes, electricity is pretty much the name of the game of how nerves communicate with one another and then send that.
That sounds like archangels right there, or Gabriel. You know, the little messenger of electricity jumping between things.
Yeah, no,
very
exactly.
Toth-like, actually. The traveler.
But no, you're right. The optic nerve basically converts, photon information, the light that's received from the sun or from anything outside, and it converts it. That's when you have the transmutation from photonic information into electric. And that's called,
So like I could see how like you're talking about the eyes, and then later on we get into like, the rest of the body. It's like, well, the eyes are, my opinion, is creating the electricity and the impulses to actually move everything else around anyway.
Right.
So that's an interesting progression to me. It makes sense.
Yeah. It translates it to the way the brain can understand or read it, and the way the brain understands and reads things is through electricity, because it's predominantly synapsing into different tissues to respond and then send the message down onto the body. It's like the mainframe.
Sorry to get totally off on a
No. I think it's good.
There.
And I was going to say, I'm glad you brought that up, because these sigils look exactly like what you would see in a microchip or like a computer microchip, and how they send messages across the board of that microchip itself, converting whatever input you put into a computer and then sending it across out, just like you would see with an eyeball, optic nerve, and into the brain. And then the brain basically sending out the application into the rest of the body of the smooth tissue, smooth muscle, what have you.
And this, by the same token, that lightning bolt in the Italian lore, that's electricity. Boom.
That's what I think.
So
like
they
the
were onto
symbol.
that even then. Yeah.
Now, is there anything else with this one that you wanted, or were we moving on? I totally forgot. Sorry,
Deborah, no, I'm going to Capella now.
Okay.
Yep,
I
Capella.
kind of forgot where I was when I interrupted you. Sorry.
Teresa was going to say something, I think.
Oh, no, just going off of what Barb said, that in Italian, also giving birth, you say a dare alla luce, give to the light.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just funny. Just a little funny.
Yeah, it's cool. All right.
Oh.
Okay, so we're at number 4, Capella, which means a little goat.
Oh, Capella there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very close to the previous one. It's almost identical.
Yeah, I forgot to move the slide before. That's where I screwed up. Sorry.
Real easy to make that one.
Wow, that is very easy.
Yes. Well, you just take 5 minutes of like that. It took me 5 minutes to do my Aldebaran on the heart-shaped stone that I did. So Capella. Now, this was freaky. This fixed star was another star that was in that Richard Speck case I did. It references a nurse who takes care of baby Jupiter in the myth. Now, it represented in the crime chart nurses which were represented by Jupiter in the crime chart. So I was that's another one of those freaky correspondences that you get with the fixed stars in the crime charts. The Capella exalts men to honors, brings them the favor of kings, heals toothache. I love that. Out of the clear blue sky, it heals a toothache. Very medicinal. So there's a couple of more that are medicinal, and the one I pulled out will be for the circulation. So we think of like older people with chronic health problems could make good use of this kind of information. Also good for musicians, people who make merry with musical instruments, and for health, healing, and music. Use a blue candle and mint incense, or whatever incense you prefer. And that's Capella. And then we get to Sirius. Okay, the dog star. This is the brightest star in the sky. It's like a, 5th magnitude. Very powerful star. And very easily located. If you can see Orion's belt, if you look down the diagonal of Orion's belt, it'll point you right at Sirius, because he was followed by the dog star. Grants the favor of the spirits of the air and the peoples of the earth, which is just about everything. Brings peace and concord between kings, husbands, and wives. Peace and reconciliation. Probably, and this is my comment, probably also beneficial for dogs. After all, it is the dog star. Yeah. So it would be protective of dogs' health and happiness.
Doesn't it look like the Bluetooth symbol?
I was looking at it thinking it looks like something familiar, but I couldn't.
It's the Bluetooth symbol on its side.
Yeah, it does.
If you turn it the other way, up vertically, I think, and then cut off the crescent part. Oh, it's like basically Bluetooth with an antenna is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And then you have Sirius radio, of course, satellite radio.
Yeah. Well, it's all about energy anyway. You know, it's all connected to that. So that's Sirius. Procyon is the next one, and this is also, let's see.
I love how you use Agrippa's stuff. I think that was great.
I think Agrippa's was the most visually pleasing. I don't know if you saw in the ebook, I did not include the third ones because they were like hand drawn and I thought they looked really messy. Plus the way he had it on the pages, I couldn't screenshot all three of them. I had a tough time even just getting the two to fit sometimes. But the top one is the BMS Bodleian manuscript. These all came from magicians' manuscripts. They inscribed the sigils based on their communing with the divine. And so the top one is Bodleian. I like the Cornelius Agrippa. The second one is always Agrippa. So for Procyon, confers the favor of the gods, of spirits and men, gives power against witchcraft. That's a good one. Preserves health. That's a lot right there. Preserves health and power against witchcraft. It's one of the more popular ones. It will repel curses and bad spell casting. And I don't even have colors for that, but I don't think it matters. I could not print out the ebook that I gave you. It got all fouled up in the printer. And so I only copied the most basic information, thinking this is liberal. We don't have to adhere to colors and stuff. So I just left it out. Like I couldn't hand copy all of it. So I would say that white candles are your best bet. And just a basic incense, whatever you like as an incense. And also, I forgot one thing. Once you have made your amulet, sigil, whatever, and you've made while you're making your incantation, hold it above the incense. Like keep it in the smoke of the incense, because that somehow helps adhere the energies to it. So that's one step I should have included in the beginning. Is to just make sure it gets, so you do have to be burning incense. That's pretty one of the few requirements you have.
Sometimes, I mean, even just from my prior experience, I mean, you'll even like cleanse the thing before you even charge it. You know, I've like literally like, you know, used the incense to cleanse it with, fire and air. And then I would even like sprinkle like salt water on it to be, earth and water, and like have this whole thing. So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, you're more in tune with the advanced rituals doing all that. I could tell you've already done those, because that becomes a requirement as you progress. For this, the only thing I think about, you really need to be clear with your intent. Like, what do you want? And be focused, because the guides can't answer you if you're not clear. If you're not clear, they're not clear. Like if you're asking, let's say you're asking for a jazzy red sports car. You really want a jazzy red sports car? Do you want a chick magnet to attract women? In that case, don't ask for the car, just ask to attract women. You really have to be clear why you are doing these things. It's important to have that clarity of the intent.
Do you? I remember back in the day, people kind of were like mind fucking themselves, and I mean I did it too. But like you start wondering, like like from my experience, sometimes like after you're done doing like whatever you're pulling down or invoking, you may want to banish after the fact, after you're done, and then you're like, well, does the stuff I just put into the talisman I just made get banished too? How do you get around that? Some people suggest to put black silk around their talisman before they banish, or remove it from the circle. But it's like one of those questions where it's like, oh fuck, like,
oops.
Yeah, like how does that work? If you're technically banishing everything, is it going to come out of the talisman that's on your altar in the circle as well? It's like a silly mind fuck that you can really, that a ceremonial magician will mind fuck the shit out of,
I think I would probably hold it and say cancel 3 times or something. I
was just like, I can't even, no.
I haven't thought of that one yet. That's a good one.
Well, it kind of goes along with the whole idea where people are like, oh, if you're going to banish your house or cleanse your house, you got to have the windows open. And I was like, well, so when you invoke or whenever you call something in, do you make sure your windows are open? Like, like, do you need your window open to invoke this planetary godly energy? If you need it open to get rid of it, like, it's like silly things like that you got to question as a witch or a magician when you see people like, oh, you need your windows open. Did I need it open to call it in?
Right. Yeah. No. There's a level of thought involved. You're right.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
So that's no problem. So 7 is one of the. Probably what I've touched upon mostly are negative fixed stars. I'd say more than half of them are, but there are some that are very good and very positive and very favorable. One of the best would be Regulus. It's also Cor Leonis, the heart of the lion. It's in the constellation Leo.
Oh.
It's for eminent people, refers to kings and powerful people, and you watch it during an eclipse. Something at some point could involve a leader.
It's like I could see a lion, and it's like I could even see like almost like if you were looking at someone's headdress from sideways, like an Egyptian headdress, and it has that thing that comes out the front. Like I don't know, like I even see like almost like very interesting. Like you said Leo and King.
Well, it's easy to tell because it kind of looks like an animal.
I mean, even Regulus. I mean, Regal.
Well, the king Rex Regis is the king.
Reg.
So you get regular. You want to use yellow and gold for gold green.
So that's the dog from Gilgo Beach.
It is.
Rex, right?
Oh,
No.
Blue.
I gotta look for Regulus in that chart. I gotta look for the
Blue's
dog.
Clues.
Rex.
Blue's Clues. Holy
Shepherd.
fuck.
Oh my God.
And Sirius, the dog, in September 11th.
That's what Blue's Clues was all about. It was prepping Gilgo Beach.
Whoa.
Blue's Clues, stop.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
All right.
Nothing is sacred.
No,
not at all.
not in this world.
Sorry, I just ruined it. All right, go ahead.
It's okay.
So now we come to another really brilliant one, Spica. I didn't put the degrees on here, and I left my other piece of paper upstairs like a nitwit. Okay, whatever. If you want to know the degrees, I can always go back over and tell you the degrees. Regulus is like 29 degrees Leo. Spica is 24 degrees of Libra. The color for Spica is emerald green. It's also a good color for the candle, and confers riches, overcomes conflicts, removes scarcity and mischief.
You said emerald green, right? Did you say 24 degrees?
24 degrees of Libra.
Yes, that's interesting. To me, that would be like, if you want to start looking at the spheres, 2 and 4. That to me, that would be kind of like where the death is involved from going from sphere 2 to 4 for Tahuti, kind of in a sense. It's hard to explain, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's at that degree number.
It also denotes brilliance in a person if it's in their horoscope. It can denote brilliance, which is really great mental abilities. I'm differentiating from using it for the ritual, what the qualities are here, and then within the horoscope, because we don't want to mix them, but pretty much they carry over. Algol in certain crime horoscopes is always bad, and as it is good as a talisman or an amulet. Next one is Arcturus, number 9, which would be, I think it's a red star, I'm not sure. Red or green candles, general incense, whatever, removes fever and restores circulation and health. There's your health fixed star, Arcturus.
That's like
So
Jack.
that would-
It's Jack Parsons driving his speed car right there. Driving his little hot rod.
I don't know.
Or
We
Jimmy
don't have
T.
a star for explosions, but
I don't know
the
why
way he
that crazy.
turned out.
I don't know why. I just had like an image of like him like sitting in his car. I think I've seen him like, take off in it, and that popped into my head looking at this. So fucking random.
yeah. That's a good. So the next one, this one makes me crazy. Alcade. It sounds like an antacid. It's a fixed star. I don't know where that. It's Al Qaeda. I should, I
know what,
make
that-
fun of it, but
That very
Al-Qaeda?
much looks
Yeah, Al-Qaeda.
like the way that you drew it. It almost very much looks like. Do you ever see like when you go back to like old depictions of Santa Claus when it's like you kind of like what is that even like a reindeer that he's holding anymore? But like he has like a little thing in his hand. It almost like a little small little miniature Christmas tree and shit. It almost kind of looks like that thing that you drew on the bottom actually.
right.
Yeah.
That's
That's
interesting.
funny. We got to go to 10 for Alcade.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, that one's Arcturus. Alcade is. I'm not sure what that one looked like.
Yeah, I have Alcade on the one. It's up on the screen now.
Oh, it's up there. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
Oh,
up.
yeah. Oh, that almost looks like an atomic formula or something.
That's what I was going to say. It
Doesn't
looks
it?
like a chemistry formula.
Yes,
like you
it
can
does.
see CH
Yeah,
and
it
H
does.
off of the main
Yeah,
element.
and that's the little tree. I see what you're saying now. I didn't see that.
Like a
Okay.
fractal or something.
Yes.
A little crystal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
They're
this is
fun. You can
just-
see how easy they are to make. I mean, just get a ruler and, Sharpie
Make
or
'em.
something.
It makes not go out there, but like David Lynch at the end. Besides his Twin Peaks stuff, but like even at the end of every episode, he does hugely focus on electrical wires and and things that like carry electricity. I mean, and that does kind of look like if you were to turn them, standing them up, it would very much look like the things on the side of the roads that are running electrical and telephone wires.
Yeah.
Well, I just
It
found
reminds me of
interesting.
that. You know how they would put that stuff at the top of like barns or whatever to kind of indicate which way the wind was blowing, and they would attach
Oh,
like
yeah.
different.
Oh, the weather vane.
Weather
Yeah.
vane.
Weather. There you
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's funny.
Yep. Gee, I wonder if you could spellcast the weather with one of these. Make a little antenna and put it up on your roof and whatever.
It's not cloud busting.
Yeah.
It was the OG cloud busting before.
Damn.
Okay. Alfeca. Okay. Nobody wants this one. I guarantee you. Makes men chaste. Why?
Well.
Men want to be chaste.
That's why I look broke.
I don't know what this is. This must have been for priests and novitiates or something. I was like, makes men chaste. Nobody's going to want that amulet.
It looks like it's broken in half right there.
Grants friendship, but you can't have sex, I guess. Grants friendship and honor with God and man, rosemary incense and white candle. But like nobody's going to want that one. So
You know what's wild though? If you look at the top one, this is like stuff that I've said that sometimes I wonder if drawings or diagrams are more to be like a 3-dimensional rendering. Because then I could see how like it's almost like showing like just a twist of that rectangle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting at? It's like maybe
Wow.
like this way
Wow.
and then twisted this way. It's just very interesting.
Like if you
looking
put
at that.
electron spins.
Or if you made that
on
origami
it.
or something. Like
Yeah. Like if you put electron spins or an atomic spin, whether polarity or whether it's an atom or a neutron or whatever, and then the way that it would rotate within its structure.
it's just I just wonder sometimes, like, especially with this one, I don't know why it caught my attention to think like, what if that was actually like kind of like a 3D rendering or something.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could make a really cool sculpture out of it. Like a 3-dimensional
You could like toss it into a
with
3D
wires
printer.
or bars or something. Could be a little sculpture. That would be really nice.
Like a 3D
pretty.
printer, throw it in a 3D printer.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what comes out. Sorry.
Yep.
Oh god. All right.
So we got Antares up there, all right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's another
Antares.
this one's interesting. Gives healthy coloring. That must affect the circulation. Grants good memory. Give me 10 of those. Intelligence makes them appear wise. Banishes demons. Drives away and binds evil spirits. Well, that's a multi-level amulet for you. You want to use red or purple, copal or dragon's blood incense. This is interesting how much it covers, but I also know that Antares has to do with blindness in a chart, so I don't know why that's not on here. It should protect the eyesight. It would be the opposite of what it would indicate. You know, if I think some famous people had an afflicted Antares and they did have eye injuries or have blindness. Wow. So I don't know why that didn't come out in here, but I'm pretty sure that's part of it. Okay. Next one, the word for star, Vega. Protection against spiritual attacks. A number of these protect against spiritual attacks and witchcraft. It protects against nocturnal phantoms, probably as nightmares as well. Fears, gives power over devils and beasts. Wow. Use yellow, green, any kind of incense. And that's it. So a fair amount of these are for protection of various kinds, mostly witchcraft, you know, spirits, demons, forces, stuff like that. Algol is your general protection for everything, because like I said, I considered it for spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, all of those protecting me. And so basically you could see their kind of categories: protection, health, ambition, and success, money, and power. They kind of fall into one of those groups. Okay, last
Vega,
one.
This Vega one, though, like, is like, to me, I mean, I'm sure, have you ever seen the Sigil of Jupiter? It's like basically you're just making that circle a little bit bigger, you know.
I'm not sure. I know the glyph of the astrological glyph. I'm not sure if that's the same thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, like if you were to make
the glyph looks
magic
like a 2 with a 1 coming facing you. It would be like this.
Well, and also the name
2 and a 1.
The name Vega, like for the vagus nerve, it's the main nerve that controls our fight or flight response. Controls our whole sympathetic nervous system.
I was going to say that if you picture it as a 3D, it's almost like light is coming into the pupil, and then it crosses kind of like at the point of intersection, and then crosses again at the lens, and then comes back out. Like if you were to imagine it looking
like a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
That's cool. Another thing I've even said too. Sometimes I think you, with occult symbolism, besides making it like 3D, if you're thinking of looking down on something and seeing that from the top, just like you're saying.
Right.
Sometimes I do think that helps to look at symbols in a different, in a different view. So, but yeah, I think this is very much like the planet Jupiter, and I mean, I think it's quite obvious. It looks like the X-Men symbol as well.
Oh yeah.
So.
True.
Yeah. All right, and then the last one you were saying. I'm sorry.
Last one, Deneb Al-Jadi, again for wealth, success, and lawsuits. This is the first one that's specific in that regard. Success in lawsuits, protection and success at home. So I guess being this specific, you would want to just use it for that. Well, it seems that it would protect business as well because it concerns wealth. So that is it, unless you have questions.
I was going to say one more thing on this number 14 one. If you were to round off that, I guess it's a pentagram, right? You could like interpret it as a light coming in, and then how you have the hyaloid canal kind of coming into that point of intersection, and then how it kind of travels into that vitreous chamber.
Wow.
And then obviously with the, the photon or the light basically crossing, coming from and then coming out like that. And then down that hyaloid.
Yeah, actually, yeah. The weird thing is that, like, again, remember how we were saying, like, looking at things from the top? The Vega literally looks like it could be if you were looking at this sigil from the top down.
Right.
That is so weird.
Yeah. Can you guys
I was
do
going to
me-
go back, actually, too.
Yeah, I want to go back to Aldebaran that you
yes,
didn't talk
sure.
about, and I was like, wait.
Oh, no, she did, and I never changed the thing. I screwed that up.
No, I don't think we really talked about it because it looks so similar to the previous
Capella.
one.
Yeah.
Capella.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Capella,
just
yeah.
randomly before we started recording, I was looking through these sigils really quick, and I was like, Aldebaran, that's an interesting word. And I just looked up, like, is there a connection with this and the Aldobrandini family, like the Black nobility family? And there is. Very interesting.
Wow.
Yes, I just found it literally like
That's
2 minutes
cool.
before we went on. So apparently, they're believed to have like Egyptian Ptolemaic origin, right? And possibly there is an alien civilization in the Aldebaran or Taurus region, because Aldebaran is the star in the Taurus constellation. And yeah, Aldobrandini is apparently an Arabic name originally. And there is a lodge called Al-Dabaran, right?
Oh yeah, yep. I've heard of that. Yeah.
And that maybe this origin is like where the Sumerian language comes from.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's going
because
way. That's going
right.
way
Yeah.
back.
because on the Sumerian tablets it says when the royal power came to us from the heavens, and this is like a sigil in Sumerian as well, in the Sumerian culture. Yeah, very interesting. And then I was like, oh, so is that why, like, Barb, when you first started the episode, you were saying you can like kind of draw in sigils the power of the fixed stars, right? So is that why Elon Musk changed Twitter to X? Because he's obsessed with Taurus, and his son,
right. That's
also
right.
one of his like most recent babies, his name is Tau.
Oh wow.
Is that why
Well,
he did it?
I
Draw in all the power of Taurus.
Well, if you
into
look at
Twitter?
that Pleiades, the star cluster, supposedly that's a civilization, as well as Sirius is a civilization.
Arcturus.
Some of those stars, Arcturus, exactly. I had my own theory about why he did X, but I don't know if it.
Well,
Counts
maybe
for
it's got
anything.
something to do with this. Apparently, little side note, Picasso was obsessed with like painting Taurus and the bull in his paintings. So apparently this was to pay homage to Taurus, the bull. And in his paintings, like the bull was often in like sex acts with women. Like he was
great.
like obsessed with it. So apparently this was to mimic his time in Rome, and that the bull was supposed to be the Pope in the paintings.
Oh, wow.
Just a little fun.
I got to check Picasso's chart. I bet you he's got these stars in there.
I bet.
I got to check it.
Bet. And he
I
had his
make a
blue
note to-
period. Weren't we just talking about blue?
Yeah, yeah.
Blue.
That's right.
Yeah.
He did.
That's fun. Just anyway,
No.
No, that's really good
You know.
information. That's great.
just my brain working how it works.
Love it.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I did just want to like kind of just maybe just skim through these sigils again before we wrap it up. These are just very interesting to look at, especially that. I mean, that one looks so close to what the hell is that shit called? That Jewish.
Menorah.
I can't. The menorah. Yeah, but I still can't think of the thing that you posted with a bunch of them in a pattern. Teresa, do you remember that? Maybe last week.
A bunch of
Nick posted a bunch of like what looks like the menorah in a in a design. Was it something Jewish?
Oh no!
You remember
that
that now?
cross. I think
Yeah,
are you talking about
okay.
that cross?
All right.
Yes, yes, that was the stuff
That's
with
what it was.
the blood,
Oh,
and the cross. Yes.
That was a hemoglobin.
Yeah.
That was a hemoglobin.
Oh yeah, you were like, there will be blood.
Yeah. No, that was a hemoglobin, and how it makes the cross in and of itself with
Like the Rosicrucian cross.
exactly,
Blood of Christ.
which basically is what's in your blood is the hemoglobin itself, and you have 4 of them within the red blood cell to attach to the oxygen molecule and carry it, what have you. But the heme group itself is what looks like the cross itself. So.
Yeah. Even this, even that one on the side, because it has like, like 9 on the top. I have even explained sometimes, I think, artistically, maybe like even on tarot, sometimes I think cups or things like overflowing might be showing like the descending from like one sphere down to the next. And, you know, even with this, I wonder, is this like the 9 that are underneath Kether? You know? In a sense. I don't know. But that is a very interesting one. I just did want to go back to that. Even the Bluetooth one, too. I was looking at that. I was like, yo, I know I've seen this before.
I'm like, really? What is that Bluetooth symbol from? Like, it's so random.
I do find it interesting with the 3 slashes, too, because if I remember correctly, I do think it's, you know, in the Gnostic Mass, they do slice like 3 times. I think the priest does. You know, so I do wonder, like, times that I have seen that done, I do wonder if it's, like, representative of the same thing. Which sometimes I do wonder if that's even kind of showing you that you're cutting off these parts of your body, in a sense. You know?
I was going to say Proto-Scion, or number 6. Proto-Scion is the actual species name of a raccoon.
Oh, wow.
Procyon?
Yeah.
Procyon?
Procyon lotor.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy.
Procyon.
Huh.
Procyon, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's it. I mean, yeah. Probably.
And what'd you say? Oh, that's...
For a raccoon.
And what was Procyon like known for again, Barb? Like the qualities?
It was right here. Confers the favor of the gods, spirits, and men, gives power against witchcraft, preserves health. And I put my own note, should be good with dogs too, because it's in Canis Minor, the little dog constellation. So it is basically for health and prosperity, doing well with other people, doing well in society, being respectable, but also throw in prevents witchcraft, which is always a good side benefit to have.
Interesting.
This one's still wild to me. Sorry.
See, that was the one I didn't like. That one was, I forget who it was, Sloan. The Sloan manuscript, I did not like those. I liked them like even and geometric shaped, and a lot of them were drawn kind of funky looking, so I was just as happy to leave them out. I'd wanted the 2 top ones, mostly the Bodleian and the Agrippa, because they were clean, good lines, and looked a little better. But the bottom ones were also a possibility that are in Chris Warnock's book.
Gotcha.
It's very key-like, I find this one as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just thought it was very interesting, even just to show what these sigils look like. You know what I'm saying? And they all have to do with, like, you know, astrology.
I'd love to know how they came about. I know that the magicians, I believe, channeled them from the divine, like they got visions or they meditated or they saw it somehow in manifestation. But as I said, there are various manuscripts by different individuals that have variations like what you see here. So they were getting some commonality with a little bit of a flair for each one. And there's more of them too.
Didn't we do something on the magic squares and how like the outer part of the square itself would turn into a symbol, or you could make it into a symbol on some of these sigils?
Yes, I think that was in our ciphers and gematria series. Yes.
Yeah. So I wonder if maybe they placed it into magic squares.
Yeah.
And then that's where they got these sigils from.
See, that's even like another thing. Like you could, I could be wrong. No, I think you would start off. You would like draw like, let's say like it was like a 3 inside. You're starting off on a 3 inside this square. You'll draw the circle there. Then you'll draw it to the next one, and then when you're finally done, you'll end it with like a T basically. You know, where it's like this is where it starts, the circle, and this is where it stops, and it almost looks like you hit a wall, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I've wondered that with like sigils like these, do they have these circles on them because of like some sort of mix with planetary or magic squares from back in the day?
Right. Because I think they showed that that's how they got the archangel sigils.
Or is the reason why you do that in planetary magical squares, does that have something to do with, like, is it being done here because of the same reason? Is there something behind that shape, actually? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it kind of almost translated into the whole alphanumerical system as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a... something. It's very interesting. Just even wondering what's up with those circles.
I still think Sirius looks like an eye. The whole coming in, crossing, and then bouncing around the vitreous canal and then going back into the optic nerve. I wonder if those three have something to do maybe with an actual number of nerves that feed back, but even that moon-looking like thing. It reminds me of the occipital, but of course occipital would be going this way, not that way. But it's still, it's very close, I think. Or unless the three are like the seat of the pineal, the pituitary, and the hypothalamus, and this is where most of all information comes from. When you receive any information, whether it's nose, mouth, eyes, ears, that it goes into that area and you basically activate either the pineal or the pituitary, and then they act upon the hypothalamus, and that's where you get most of all glandular activation to secrete hormones, proteins, or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to look at.
What's interesting about Sirius, it's the brightest magnitude star, the 5th magnitude, the brightest light emitted. So there you go, going into the optic nerve. It's the most light that you can take in from a star.
Well, and the pineal is absolutely 100% responsive to the light that comes in through the eye. So
I do find it, I was looking at this sigil before, and, now since I mentioned it already, I'll bring it back up. But, I was saying that I thought you might make like 3 slits, if I remember correctly. And then if you're ending it here, obviously the only things left is your eyes. Right. And fuck, I was going to go somewhere else with that, but I totally forgot. But yeah, those 3 slits right there, I have wondered, again, is that leaving it with your eyes up here? Yeah. Interesting.
What about on the bottom, the far right, that oval? Is that supposed to be the eyeball, the curvature of the eyeball?
Oh, that
maybe
could
looking
be.
at it the other way. Maybe looking at it the other way.
Flip it, but
like
that's
you flip
the
it.
curvature of the eyeball,
The cornea.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very interesting stuff, though, once you want to start
It really is.
Or could it be, like, in terms of that half moon, could it be the back part of the vitreous to where it's activating the retina?
Oh,
and then everything coming backwards.
I'm thinking that's the retina. The retina. Yeah.
I mean, even if you think about it, this is another part, like with the cup. I think it might be like the knight of something. It's in the Thoth deck. He's holding up like a cup that has a crab in it, and to me, that's the optic nerve.
Yeah.
Is that crab? So I mean, again, like you're holding up. I see it. It's weird, but I can see it there in the way.
But it would make more sense because then the occipital basically receives it in the back as a cross when it comes in through the brain. It rewrites it the way that it reversed it back inside that vitreous.
Wow.
And then not to get too deep into it, but like even with the letters in here, you have SI. You have S and I twice. I've said this before, when it gets to the hyaloid canal. If you want to think of it, when your eye is, your hyaloid's going to be straight at one point, and then when your eye changes, it's going to get into like a S or a snake symbol in itself. It's going to bend. So you're going to get an IS and an IS in each eye, depending on what you're doing with it.
Right.
So there you might already have ISIS to begin with. Just your 2 eyes and the bending of the hyaloid canal. And with you seeing how many S's and I's are in here, I'm just wondering, is this really still going back to the eyeball in a sense? I mean, even if you thought of this as a car jack, it's kind of compressing.
It does look like that.
But, even in the words like the 2 eyes, the U, the back part of the cup of the vitreous, or even the iris, IRUIUS, iris, which is the iris around the pupil itself, the S for the hyaloid when you do the accommodation and that lens fattens up, and then that hyaloid basically compresses. So there's a lot of eye association with this entire sigil. It's very, very, very interesting.
We have to start looking into the ear because I wonder if it has anything to do with the ears while being like sound related, perhaps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When we went to the
and the
brain,
crystals.
I figured we'd have to touch on the ears.
With the cochlea.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe that's a little antenna.
Yes, I definitely. I've been saying that. I don't know for how long that the cochlea is very important when it comes to magic, and I do even think there's symbolism of it in stuff. So it's interesting that you're saying that. I think that's a huge. That's like a whole thing on its own. I think. But yeah, does anybody does anybody else here want me to go to any other slides, or you think that's you guys are good?
I think that was it.
I think we've covered. I wanted to add one thing about making a sigil.
Sure.
You don't even need any of this stuff. It's just making it out of letters, which I did, and I'll tell you a story about it. But you can make your own sigil on a piece of paper or cardboard or whatever, painting, however you want to do it. You think of something that you are invoking. It could be any mundane thing. In my case, I have my bedroom is near shrubbery, and in the spring and summer, sometimes I get spiders. So I made a sigil, no spiders, and hung it under the window where I thought they were coming in. What you do is you write down what you're invoking. I just wrote no spiders. You remove the vowels, so it's NSPDRS. You draw a circle, like I just sketched a plate on a regular sheet of paper, and take these, each initial, like NPS, whatever. Draw them, like make a design with them inside that circle. I made it like kind of artistic. I just kind of wound the letters together. You could paint them, you could color them. I didn't even color mine. And I thought, I don't want spiders coming through this window anymore. And I have it hanging under the window, and I have almost nothing happening anymore with them coming in. My sister also drew a sigil that has kept them out of the basement. And it looks like the planet Mars, the symbol for the planet Mars. And she just put it on the floor near where we thought they came in. And we haven't had that happening. So it's just real easy to do that. You just remove the vowels, put your consonants in a circle, make a little pattern, color it in or whatever, leave it blank, and put it in view of where you are reminded of it.
See, that's
like I put it under the window. And it's easy. You don't need the stars. You don't need what time of day to do it.
That's why I was like times that I get at you have no idea what someone's artwork or logos even are, because you could just easily be doing that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
People would have no idea because you're going to get artistic. It's not, you could make it look very much like a seer. You could get fancy, you could start designing stuff with these letters, and people would have no idea what it means.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you brought that up.
A side note, I think, Nick, you had done something like that with gematria, and that you were leaving out some of the vowels and getting completely different stuff that was very related to a lot of things.
Either vowels, or if one thing that I had noticed I thought was very interesting, taking the H out of certain words. Mm-hmm. And when you start getting into H, with German, Italian, and I think Hebrew, and English, that we all kind of do choose, I think, to silence the H at times.
In Spanish, it's silent.
So, and a lot of languages that I think are deeply occulted, that have deep occulted history. It's funny how those major ones seem to all kind of play with their H's that way.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point too for advertising, especially when they used to do all the artwork by hand. Now it's very digital, but in logos and whatnot, right? Harness, it's almost like a sigil pretty much for a lot of brands. Mm-hmm.
Very nice. All right, so I think we're done here. So I'm just answering a thing on the bottom. It was answering London. He says we live on the moon. And
maybe we do.
The interesting thing is looking at it in the way that I look at it. You do have the messenger who's also associated with the moon, or Gabriel. In a way, he's associated with the moon in magic, and he's also a messenger. I also do think that's why Tahuti either takes flight from originally, kind of, or you go down, or it gets worse. But I do think, in a way, when he says we're on the moon, I would also consider that the lens, and consider the lens possibly the point of reflection. So maybe we're kind of like on the moon and we're like stuck in between two ways and we need to make a decision which way we're going to face or something. I don't know. But to me, it's interesting how he said that. And in my opinion, that's really the jumping off point of going into magic, is leaving your sword and going up the rest of the tree. You know, I think you even see that in a sense where it's like as soon as you go above it, you have light now from Venus. And then you have the two different sexes that are shown in the hermaphrodite on Mercury. So it's like you're already getting like the whole imagery, and it's very interesting when you start going up the tree looking at it that way. And the moon would be the ninth sphere. So it's very interesting thought you said there, London. You got me going on a rant about it.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Can I add something? That moonlight also plays onto the pineal gland. It's not just the sun. There's I think there's a couple of scientific papers that talk about recharging a pineal with moonlight.
Ooh.
So.
So that whole moon thing is very interesting. That's why I do like using my boy Lee from Inner Guardians, his phrase, "We're food for the moon." And I think that's going to keep happening as long as we don't start looking towards somewhere else. We're just going to get recycled through the moon. I don't know. Very weird.
It's interesting because the Saturn Saturn rules the pineal gland. So you have the interplay of moon and Saturn.
That's where
which
you get
gets into a lot of the ritual. It's the beginning and the end of the universe, so to speak.
Now, if you just want to
gets into a lot of that kind of ritual stuff.
If you get into that and then think of the magic squares, you would need square 9 and square 3. So you'll get 93 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the Saturn moon matrix, David Icke.
Right there. Yeah, he talked about that a lot. Yeah.
He should have just been a little bit more, I think, open about what he was trying to get at.
Really?
Yeah, because I think he's pointing at the same thing I was just describing now. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up here. I think it's perfect timing, too, an hour and 15 minutes, where I would like to try to keep the Occult Rejects at, just so it's a little bit easier for people. So that worked out great. Thank you, everybody who jumped in on the live. That is what's up. I'm excited to see a lot of people in here and dropping interesting conversations in here as well. I think I introduced you, but didn't let you plug yourself. BD, let everybody know where they can find your stuff and your books. I do have the links in there already, but promote yourself.
Okay, there's a lot of books in there, but if they're in the links, that's good. My website is strangebutTrueCrime.com. I'm on Twitter. The handle is Star Sleuth. And I think that takes care of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got that. And I have links to your books as well. And your blog and your Twitter, I think is all
perfect.
Yeah, I think there's more links in there than you even expected me to share, so we should be good.
The more the merrier. I mean, that's fine.
That's what I think. And I got the Spiritual Gangsters. The links for that, of course, are in the bottom. They got their own link tree down there. They're also in my link tree. But check out the Spiritual Gangsters link tree. That will have every place that you can find the Spiritual Gangsters and Clown World at.
Heck yeah.
Yes, and thank you very much again, Lisa, for coming on. Especially, this is why I wanted the mad scientist on with us.
Oh.
Because I had a feeling we'd get into eyeball stuff anyway. Plus, just it's always great to have your input. Thoroughly enjoy it.
Thank you.
And BD, again, it was amazing. I love having you on. And Symbolic Studies jumped on just to hear me say goodbye. Thanks anyways. Thanks anyway, Mario. Which, we will be doing something with Mario and 7 Degrees of Wisdom, too. I'll plug that eventually in a few weeks, hopefully. We'll be covering some interesting art by Saint Hildegard that we covered in the past.
Cool.
So
I liked her.
Oh yeah, she was definitely a spiritual gangster. I think so. Yes.
OG.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. She was. We had people in the chat saying I'd swipe right on her. Yeah, saying she was on Tinder. just from hearing about her story, they don't even know what she looked like yet. They're like, yeah, she sounds hot. She sounds good. Whatever. I don't even know where I was going with that. Yeah. Thank you, Mario, for jumping on. And that is the end of another Occult Rejects. And again, thank you all for jumping on with me and everybody in the chat. It was really a good time in there, and that's what's up. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.